and welcome to episode 133 of the Game Pit. I'm Sean, and unfortunately Ronan is not here because poor little sausage is stuck at home, or was stuck at home for the UK Games Expo with a bad back and pilled up to the eyeballs and just speaking nonsense. So nothing changed there, but I have with me an able replacement. Many would say more than able. We have Natalie.
Hello everyone, I'm back.
Yeah, taking over the place. We've already had one request for you and Eleanor to do a show on your own.
Well, I'm not saying we'd improve the quality. Well, no, that's exactly what I'm saying.
And I can't even argue. I really can't, because you absolutely would. Can you improve on nothing? Yes, obviously. So you're not really setting the bar that higher.
That doesn't feel like a compliment to me coming from you in that way.
Compliments for you, negative for me.
You know, don't overwhelm me with all of this good feeling, will you?
Well, I'll try not to. Anyway, we digress.
This will be not the last time, I don't think.
Well, if our previous podcast... we're doing it now. We're literally...
Oh my God, digression in the digression. Get on with it.
We're literally talking about a tangent while going on a tangent.
Can you just get on with it then, please? I blame you. Carry on.
Can I say tangent?
Go,
tangent. Anyway, why are we here? We have been to the UK Games Expo, and spoilers, we've had a lovely time yet again, and we just want to talk you through a little bit about it. So we're going to start off by telling you a bit about the expo itself, what we saw, who we saw, some of the awards that were given out during the expo. We'll talk a bit about them, some of the shows we saw, and yeah, generally how nice a time we've had. Then we will go on to more specifics, and we'll talk about some of the games that we've actually played during the expo, or games that we got at the expo and then played at home. These won't be massively detailed reviews, because some of them we've only played once or twice. So they'll be just overviews, our general thoughts to begin with. And there is a very strong favourite among those games in the Cottage Rice household.
Oh, isn't there just? But I'm not going to give it away. Spoilers.
Okay, so we're going to start off by just reminding everyone that we are proud members of the Dice Tower Network. Go there and to the Dice Tower itself for gaming goodness galore. And don't forget our YouTube channel, where we do our pit stop videos. Been a bit dry lately because of Ronan's bad back, because he is the driving force behind our pit stops. But he's getting better and they'll be up and running again soon. So let's start off, Natalie. I'm going to give you some facts and some figures. Are you ready? I know you like a fact and a figure.
I do like a fact and a figure. Bated breath over here. Let's go.
So, the attendance unique for the UKGE this year was 25,704.
Nice.
And the total attendance was 45,097. I think they said that's up about 16% on last year. So that would, until Origins produce their figures again this year, Origins and UKG sort of flip-flop in terms of who's the third and fourth biggest in the world, is in America.
Come on, UKGE.
So normally the UKGE says, here's our figures, we are now the third best in the world, or the third biggest in the world. And then Origins go, no, you're not, here's our figures. So that's what usually happens.
Well, they've got a fair amount more population to draw upon.
They do. They also have a lot more big cons, but...
No. Anyway, carry on.
So I wanted to just quickly go through the award winners, Natalie. Yeah. And just talk to you about generally what they are, and what your thoughts on them are. Now, the first one, so we're going to talk about the award winners that the UKGE have given out, the UK Games Expo have given out, and then obviously the People's Choice come into this as well. But for the abstract, it was unanimous. It was Azul.
It's hard to argue with that.
It is hard to argue with it if Azul hadn't come out 2 years ago.
And that's how good it is. It continues to be the best game in this year, every year, and 10 years ago. That's how good it is.
So what you're saying is that from now until 2029, Azul is going to be the best abstract game.
I'm going further. It's going to be from now until the end of time.
But should it make way now that it's won its award for other games?
Is it the best game? Then yes. Then no, it should just do its thing.
Award-winning needs to completely change everywhere. Because that's not the way most people do it. But fair enough, okay.
Have they not won for the expansion? Not the expansion, then?
No, this is the base, the first Azul game, not even the stained glass of Sintra.
There we go. This is why we keep you along.
It just came to me now. It's the only thing I remember in this whole episode.
I was literally not going to say Sintra. I was going to say something that I can't say on a family podcast. Anyway.
I always want to say Sinatra. Come fly with me.
See? You're digressing again.
I am.
Okay, so yeah, Azul was out 2 years ago. It is still a good game. Continue.
So then we move on to the kids. This isn't family, this is kids. And two games I don't really know much about. It's Zombie Kids Evolution and Who Did It. I think Who Did It comes from Blue Orange, or I could be completely wrong. I'm going to say Blue Orange. If it isn't, I apologise. I put it in the footnotes. But that looks quite interesting. Looks like a kind of a whodunit sort of, on a kids level. Zombie Kids Evolution? No idea. Didn't see it at the show.
No.
Family. Ticket to Ride New York, which was absolutely everywhere at the show, to be fair. Ticket to Ride London actually debuted at the show. We didn't get to play it and was trying to find it to pick up to buy it, and it sold out very early on the Saturday. Very early on the Saturday. So that was a massive hit at the show, and I am given that it was in England, I'm sure that's part of the reason. I'm a Londoner, so I am definitely going to be picking Ticket to Ride London up at some stage. So I would have gone, maybe it's because I'm a Londoner.
All right, pet, get back in your box. Come on.
I've got my Pearly King suit on.
I know. I really wish you'd wear some underwear with it. It's got to go back to the rent-a-suit people.
Not the same with underwear. You know this. Right, and Honga. Now, a Honga is a game that myself and Ronan previewed going to Essen. It was on my Essen list to look at for James. And I looked at it and I didn't really like the look of it at all. But it's won the People's Choice Award. So, obviously people are playing it, enjoying it. And maybe I shall give it a go now. Because maybe I was wrong again, as I normally am. So moving on to miniatures, it was Battlestar Galactica, which I'm sure you're very pleased with.
I do like a bit
They've
of
got a Starship Battles system going on, and you can play as all the famous ships and famous captains. You can be Starbuck.
Can I be Starbuck?
You can be Starbuck in the game.
I've met Starbuck.
Yeah, I know you have.
She's tiny.
Is she tiny?
I adore her.
Do you adore her?
I met her.
Okay.
Oh, and I met Gaius Baltar. He's fantastic.
He's good.
He's good. He's really funny.
Look, good job we didn't go on any tangents on this.
No, carry on.
And the People's Choice went to Rebels and Patriots, which is a historical miniatures war game. Board games themselves, American style, the main award went to Forbidden Sky, which I've heard mixed reviews on. Even people who are fans of Forbidden Island and Forbidden Desert, which we are, are saying that it's not as good as those two, and it's kind of got mixed reviews. But the People's Choice went to, in my opinion, a fantastic game.
Can I say it?
Go for it.
Chronicles of Crime.
Yeah.
We do like a bit of Chronicles of Crime.
We love a bit of Chronicles of Crime. It is a very good game.
Very good app-driven detective game. I really enjoy the act of playing that. It doesn't feel like I'm battling to play it. I do enjoy. We've got to break that out again soon because I really enjoy it, and it's always funny watching you with your phone up to your face looking around. That always amuses me.
Well, normally I'm falling over things as I'm doing it.
That's why it amuses me greatly.
But it's very clever. It's very... Although it's linear, it feels like it's not. It feels like you're in a sandbox almost because you can go anywhere, do anything.
Yeah.
People react to you in different ways when you go to them. Anyway, we've talked about this many times on the podcast. So good choice, people, for that one. Maybe not so good for the main choice.
And so for Euro games in the board games section, we have Cracks of Quedlinburg,
which we played at Aircon.
And I enjoy a lot.
That was good. Better than I thought it would be.
Oh, I really enjoyed it because then I played it with Ronan and Rachel.
I'm not going to go too far into it because myself and Ronan are going to review it in our next episode.
Okay, so that's code for me to shut up. However, I will
you can say what you want. You can say exactly what you want. I
really enjoy it. It's very luck-driven, and I lose at it every single time, but I really enjoy it. I really, really do. And then the People's Choice is also a firm favourite in this household, Architects of the West Kingdom.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Garphill Games. I'm a big fan of them.
I don't think they've made a bad game, you know.
We weren't massive fans of the first in the North Sea trilogy.
Which one was that?
Shipwrights.
That was just the card one, wasn't it?
The card one, but we didn't play with the Townsfolk expansion, which allegedly makes it a lot better. But yeah, I think it's just, they're a very strong company and very, very strong games come out of there. And Architects is another one along that way.
That was reviewed.
Yeah, we've reviewed that one. Yeah. And Strategic has gone to Root. All in, everyone voted for Root. Ronan and Chris and Puria reviewed Root in the last episode. They were all pretty big fans of it. There are a few flaws here and there with the ever-changing rule sets, etc. But they just want basically them to leave it alone so that they can discover the games by themselves and to stop trying to fix things is what the general word was coming out of that review, but I think they're all big fans. So we go on to card games. Oh, I'm not happy.
I know. Well, I don't. I genuinely don't understand how this has won. Go on.
It is, but it's a Marmite game. Some people think it is the best thing that has ever happened to the board or card gaming world. Some people, like me, think it's an absolute farce. It's the mind, which isn't a game.
It's not a game.
It's not a game.
It's not a game.
You can't tell me you sit down there and you've got a card to play, and let's have a look. So the mind is you've got to play cards in sequence. Everyone's got a hand of cards. It's mixed up. You can't talk. You're not supposed to give any signals to anybody. You just can't. You've got to sit there and work out when to play your card. So if you're at number 65, 64 goes on, you've got 67 in your hand. Your choices are play your 67 or wait to see if somebody else plays something. If somebody else plays a card and it's 68, everyone's lost because you've got the 67 and things aren't in sequence. No way you could possibly. We are not psychic. We do not read each other's minds. No matter how much Mystic Meg or all these people would tell you, we can't read people's minds. You are waiting for signals. Whether they're given consciously or not, you're waiting for signals. So you're either cheating or you're guessing. There's no other way to play this game. You're cheating or you're guessing. That is not a game. That is just an activity. There is a way you can cheat in this game and cheat perfectly. Everyone in their heads count down from 1 to 100 or 100 to 1, wherever way it goes. And then 1,000, 2,000, play your 3, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000, play your 5. You can cheat at it. You can, and I don't like this game. It's such a nonsense.
I think you probably need to have a lie down.
Oh, no, I just don't understand this game. I had to have a rant.
Okay. Do you need some ibuprofen?
When we finally get round to our games of the year, guess what's going on my worst game? Worst game of the century.
Spoilers! Come on.
Such a farce. Anyway. So everyone said the mind, by the looks of it. And then we move on to
strategic.
Easy for me to say. Given that one of my job title words is strategic.
Say the rest.
I'm not saying the rest.
Say the rest.
I'm not saying the rest.
Go on.
I'm a strategic cucumber.
You are a strategic commander.
I'm not. There's nothing strategic about me.
Carry on. These poor people are getting bored.
Strategic card game. So we've actually played the first one. We played it and we both enjoyed it. It's Ruthless.
We did like
pirate card game based on poker hands.
I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, I've considered buying that actually since we played that, and I think it's a very strong game and I really enjoyed it.
Why haven't we bought it? We buy every other game.
I don't know.
You buy every other game under the sun and this one has passed you by.
And I've played the next one, but again it's an older game but it's been re-released and re-jazzed up. It's Arboretum.
I picked that up to buy it as it goes.
I think you'd like it. It's a kind of a set collection with a twist and very pretty trees. Trees is a bit of a theme for us. We've just played Bosk.
We liked that.
Which we could have actually added to the games we've played, because Bosk came out in the Games Expo. So why don't we talk about it?
Why not?
Why don't we talk about Bosk now?
Free flowing, let's go.
So Bosk is a game where I would say it's halfway between photosynthesis, which I know you've not played, Natalie,
No.
and halfway between Blue Lagoon, which you have played and we love.
Which I adore.
So, Bosk, you start off laying your trees on the grid, and you've got to try and isolate your tree on the crosshairs of that grid, and if you manage to do that, you get more points, and each tree has a number, and you're trying to sort of be the dominance force on the lines or on the rows or the columns of that grid. Then the second half is you're laying leaves out from your trees, and the leaves have to go in a certain direction depending on which way the wind is blowing on that round. And then it's area majority for each of the sections of different terrain that are on the board. And you can go over each other's, and you can block people off, and very clever, very like Blue Lagoon side of things. So I wasn't particularly looking forward to it when Matthew brought it round to play with us. And even when he was explaining it, I was going, oh my God. That's why I didn't get half the rules, because I just switched off. I thought, I'm not going to enjoy this. And I tell you what, by the end, I actually did. It was a very interesting game, and something I'd definitely play. Very tactical, and something I'd definitely play again.
I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah?
I thought it was really good. And I'm not a massive area control fan. That's not where I'm happy in my gameplay.
You won it. So we've talked about this. You like games you win at.
A game's good if I like it and I don't win.
But the only problem was the colourings. There was some strange colourings on the
orange
trees.
And red was very similar.
Yeah, orange and the red was almost identical. I'm having a problem with words today. It's not great. And even the purple wasn't the easiest to tell apart from the two reddish hues. Oh. But it was all supposed to be from autumn, so I suppose they went with the sort of browny red and the orangey red and the purpley red. And
Are you getting bored of saying red yet?
Yellow.
Carry on.
So that was the strategic. So, Natalie, do you want to tell us what dice game won?
So, for the dice game, looks to be the overall winner was Dice Hospital, which
good
we
game.
have played.
Like that game. Alley Cat Games, very, very good. I like it.
We've got the nice little...
We've got the little plasticky ambulances. They debuted or showcased an expansion for it that's coming out later in the year at the expo that add more modular add-ons to the game. So
we haven't played it in a little while. I'd like to break it out again.
I think we do need to break it out because we've got the first expansion which had stuff. And then party games. It's the Crypto, which I've heard very good things about, and was the main winner. And Mackie Stack, which I don't know much about at all, was the People's Choice winner. And last up, Natalie, do you want to tell us what role-playing game won?
I can tell you, but I know nothing about it.
Me either.
It was Forbidden Lands, which sounds
cool.
Both forbidden and landish.
Well, it's all about topography that you can't go near.
I have many puns for that. Not all of them are suitable for a family podcast.
So I, in my wisdom, have put down some discussion topics for.
Well, I thought maybe we'd have a chat through them, since you've put them down.
Well, why not? Why not? Always makes the work I've put into this look like I've done something.
Shall I tell you what I really enjoy about UKGE? It is the gaming space, and there was a lot more gaming space this year.
I found that.
It's fantastic.
I'm not sure how, because it seemed like the same areas were taken up with gaming tables, but for some reason, I don't know if less people were playing games in the halls themselves or what have you, we were always able to get to a table.
No, because they had Hall 3, which is where the tournaments were on at some days, but other days it was just free play space. You could literally just go along and sit down and play a game.
Yeah.
And I value a con that has that amount of gaming space because, there's only so much I can walk around and spend money I don't have on things I don't need. Mm-hmm. I want to be breaking out my new games or taking something from the library, especially when we've got James with us. There's only so much you can drag a 6-year-old round to have a look at, games that don't interest him because they're adult games. So it was really nice to go and sit down with him for a while and play games. I really, really appreciate the expansion of the gaming space. And it was well sort of set out. You weren't squeezing between rows and there was enough of it. And, there was plenty of space there, I thought.
Yeah, and I think it's been one of the big criticisms of things like Essen and the UK Games Expo is that they're almost too trader heavy and there's not enough places to play those games. Whereas Gen Con, although it is very trader heavy, the emphasis on Gen Con is to sit down and play games. I think that's one of the big criticisms of the European ones, apart from Aircon, which kind of stood apart. Because you go and you play games at Aircon. Now, I felt a lot more at ease with playing games at the UK Games Expo this year, and I felt a lot more chilled out for it.
Yeah.
I wasn't constantly just trawling the halls and looking for things and trying to get into demo spaces. And I was able to just take that sort of hour and a half aside, go and sit down, find some likely suspects and play a game.
Yeah, I do. Maybe I've been spoiled by Aircon because I did enjoy it so much. It was like 3 days of playing games. That's sort of what I look for now in a con. So I was really pleased to see that it seemed to be a decent expansion of the gaming space versus last year for me.
Yes, cool. Right, so the next bit is I want to talk about retailers, but I'm also going to bring in, even though I've not put them together very handedly. Oh, I really can't talk today.
Should we really be doing this?
Probably not.
Shall I get the 6-year-old down to talk?
Let's do that.
Or maybe the 1-year-old?
Neither of them will shut up, so it'll be an 8-hour podcast.
But honestly, we're approaching it.
Right, so I'm going to bring in the bring and buy with the retailers, because I think obviously they go hand in hand anyway. Now, the retailers, I found the nice variety. There was plenty on show. There was like a strong family game element going on in the halls. There was lots of miniatures on display. There was lots of role-playing games, accessories, so all the things that you would like to see. I thought that the stalls were being fairly competitive. There was always a bargain to be had if you wanted to trawl, like things that you can never get near. Things like Games Law, you have to sort of almost fight your way to the front of things like Games Law. But some of the smaller traders,
you picked up some bargains.
I did pick up some bargains. They were doing some nice prices in the show, which brings me, Natalie, to the bring and buy. I know you didn't stay in it long because it was quite intense in there. Lots of people pushing and shoving and barging. So Natalie had to get out there. But the prices are they're just not good enough. How many times you go into that bring and buy and you just see outrageous prices.
I saw something. It was like a second-hand copy of something. It was like 50 quid, and you could get it on Amazon for 45 new. It's like, sort yourself out. I can't even remember what it was.
And the problem is, I think they've got to expand the space that's in. I know that is got its own problems behind it, given that there was a lot of smaller games stolen, from what I hear from people, from the thing. So shame on anyone who goes in and steals somebody's property like that. There was a lot of things stolen, and it would be harder to sort of monitor and police if they were to expand the area. But I think the amount of games that are in there just piled upon each other, and people sort of nudging and bumping and hustling you, I think it just makes it almost impossible to stay in there for any length of time, and very hard to pick out the bargains. And generally, there wasn't a lot of bargains to be had. There was a lot of people coming out and saying, you know what, I've just seen sort of Arkham Horror 3rd Edition, £60 in the bring and buy, £40 in the shops. Like, it wasn't great, but
I have thoughts. Would you like to hear my thoughts?
Let's hear those thoughts.
I think it's volunteer work. They do take their 10%, and the volunteers run it. So all credit to them. But now it's got to a size where you need some proper organisation. So you either now need to start thinking about taking 12.5% commission and get some proper organisation in there. You know, have shelving units, have a security system in place. Make sure that you're being consistent. So yeah, they wouldn't let you take your bags in, but they'll let you take shopping bags in. I mean, that's mental. What's the point of that? half of it was a space consideration, but the other half of it was trying to minimise that kind of unsavoury element, which obviously didn't happen so well. I think it is getting to the size now where you do need some form of organisation as per the games. So you do need to have strategic games, Euro games, or even alphabetised, even by publisher. It's now getting to the size where they need to start putting that kind of organisation in, because
but at the same time, it's run by volunteers.
It is run by... That's why I'm saying do 12.5% and get a couple of professionals in there. That's all I'm saying. It's people would still take their stuff to go and sell it. And then the checking out procedure was quite painful as well.
But we still got a couple of bits. We managed to get the dwarves and the expansion for 40 quid,
Listen,
35 quid.
I think it's a really good system. I really do. It's a nice way to recycle your games. You get a little bit of pocket money, maybe to spend in the halls, maybe to pay for your petrol to get to there, what have you. I just now think with UKGE getting bigger, bring and buy setup has to change. Because at some point, the benefit you get from it is going to be outweighed by the negatives. Now, I won't even go in the bring and buy next year because I cannot deal with that amount of chaos. And, there are so many games there that, your eyes are just passing over 75% of the games. I mean, there could have been loads there that I wanted to buy. I wouldn't know.
They've got to find a better way of doing it. Maybe having some sort of different racking would definitely help, I'm sure.
But the volunteers did a great job. I'm not having a go at the volunteers or anything like that.
So hard.
They work so hard and they're super helpful and they're very understanding, and it's not maligning them at all because they really work their bottoms off.
It's not even maligning the UKGE. It's just the fact is that this thing is so popular and it's such a good idea and a good thing that it's just growing and growing, and it's becoming a bit of a behemoth, and it's maybe starting to get away with them from them slightly. So yeah. Anyway, we'll move on. We'll talk about far too much about that. But good retailer spaces. Bring and buy was good, but just needs that little tweak to make it better. Live shows. We went to see our friend Matthew in his live show, and Dave, and they did This Game Is Broken live show. I think, if I'm honest, I went in support of Matthew.
Yeah.
He was panicking that there'd be nobody there, and being an Egypt as always, there was plenty of people there. There was hundreds
really pleased
of people
to see
there.
How many people showed up. I thought it was really cool.
It was actually a really enjoyable show, wasn't it? It was a really good panel. They had No Pun Included, Actual Lol and Z Garcia from the Dice Tower on there. A bit of music. Obviously, Dave's very musical. We found out Matthew's very musical,
and we have press ganged him, have we not?
We're gonna get our little boy a guitar and make Matthew teach him.
Though, to be fair, Matthew did offer.
Matthew offered to bless him. So, yes. So, very good show. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It was then followed by the Dice Tower quiz, which, you didn't stay for, Natalie. But again, I think what the UKGE has got absolutely spot on these events. And even up down to a couple of years ago, there were some teething problems. But it's the audio and the visuals. The Dice Tower were able to use like a computer to put up things on the screen. The microphones were excellent throughout. Yeah, you could carry them around the hall, involve the audience. And I think it looks like a thoroughly professional production at the moment now. I
do like the way that UKGE have sorted out that separate breakout spaces for those live shows. I think it adds something. I think it adds a little bit of something to the conference to have that opportunity for panels and things like that.
Definitely.
I do like that.
And it's a nice space. It's right next to the main hall 1, that we went to anyway. And yeah, thoroughly enjoyed both the shows, and I think I'll probably attend a couple more next year. I enjoyed them so much. So, Natalie, we met some of your friends, and this is one of the things that I wanted to talk about. It's how the UK Games Expo is sort of getting through to non-gamers and people who are not that into the board gaming hobby, but they're starting to turn up to these events. Now, what you find in Essen is a lot of families go, and it's a big family market, and they're not necessarily into the sort of more strategic side of board gaming, but they just go because it's the thing that's done in Germany. Families play board games in Germany. Well, I'm finding more and more families turning up to these events, to the Games Expo, and sort of opening their eyes to this world. And it was meeting your friend who you used to work with and his family that made me think, yeah, you know what, this guy 3 years ago, he thought the only board games in the world were Monopoly and Cluedo, and all of a sudden his kids are into minis, they're into mini role-playing games, they're playing board games, they're asking us for recommendations. I think you see a lot of that around the halls, and that's one of the things that this year my eyes were open to.
I love it. I mean, I've worked with him for a few years, and we just got chatting, and I sort of mentioned I played board games, and it was a couple of years ago, and I said, well, why don't you come to UKGE? And that was it. And he comes, and I think they come one day a year, and next year they're going to come for the entire weekend.
Yeah.
And they love like Ticket to Ride, and their boys are starting to get into RPG. But I think what UKGE have done really well is pitch at that family level. So up that one side of Hall 1, up the right-hand side of Hall 1 is just family. You've got the whole Ticket to Ride booth there. Like, it's there are other games, but it's mainly Ticket to Ride. And you've got the family area, and you've got Habba all up that one side, taking up a good chunk of Hall 1, which is not a small hall. And, as you walk in through the doors, you have the miniature painting, which draws the kids in immediately. Even like Warhammer had their own separate kids bit right at the back that I took James to. Yeah. So I think what UKGE have done is fantastic in managing to keep both audiences. They've got that family audience, but then they've got the more sort of the adult audience that come and, they know their board games.
Yeah.
And I do love it.
The problem was in this country, I think, until recently, is that the onus was down to the parents, sort of the children, to actually get them involved, and either they pressure them into it, or the kids wouldn't be that bothered about it being sports, being the main thing for kids to get involved in, and obviously some people don't have kids, and then that generation kind of gets cut off. Whether, as I mentioned before, as the Germans do it, it's a family thing. It's one of the main things you would do at home when you want to spend some family time, is break out a board game. And that sort of gently encourages the children to come along, and they go to these big events like Essen, and they say, oh, there's more to this world than I thought. But I didn't think we were doing that very well until the last couple of years with the UK Games Expo starting to really push the family side of things. And I think this year it really flourished. I think last year was good, but this year was excellent. This year was fantastic. I thought I was with James for a good while. You were off doing things. I was off gallivanting. I was putting the games into the bring and buy that we brought. Oh yeah. So I was with James. So I was gone for 6 hours. Yeah, I was with James for a good few hours. And we had a fantastic time walking around the halls, sitting down, and there was plenty to keep his engagement. Oh, should we go and have a look at this, Bobby? Oh, look at that! I want to go and see that. Whereas in previous years, there hasn't really been that much. Yeah, and he even found a game on his own that he was interested in, and ended up played me like a fool to buy it. Go halvesies with him. But we'll talk about that later. That's part of our games roundup. Now, we're going to finish on a sour note, but I think that sour note turns into a fairly positive note. So. And the reason I'm talking about this, everyone has talked about it, and if you're at the Games Expo, or even if you weren't, you probably already know about it. It's not news anymore, but I feel very strongly about it. I feel very strongly about the kind of person that does the thing I'm about to talk about. So I just wanted to bring it up briefly before we go on to the games. Now, during the expo, there was a role-playing game, and during the role-playing game, the Games Master, or Dungeon Master, decided to come up with some very, very, I don't want to say controversial, because it's more than controversial, just despicable events that happened in this game, and very distasteful events. And I think the most important thing to note is that he did it without consent. Yes. He didn't make it clear that this was going to be part of his game, and it was sprung upon the gamers. He did it for the shock value, and he was quite happy about the shock value when he did get the response from the people who were not happy about it at all. And yeah, so there was a lady involved, and she'd taken her brother for his first role playing experience, and the brother didn't talk to her after because he just felt like that was the experience that she was used to, and he was upset with her for exposing him to that sort of material. And she had to explain that no, that's not normal, and it isn't normal in our community, and people like that need to be banned, and rightly so. And very quickly, the UK Games Expo identified the person and have banned them for the foreseeable future, hopefully for life, and that person hopefully will not play any further part in the UK Games Expo again, and good riddance to them, and hopefully we don't have any more negative press. It even made the BBC website, Natalie.
It did.
And we don't need that sort of negative press coming into the hobby. And from outsiders looking in, probably already have a negative sort of view of people in sort of these sort of geek hobbies, as they would refer to them, as they don't need people like that just strengthening their biases.
So to just touch on a couple of things, I think after UKGE were made aware of the situation, they acted commendably quickly. They acted appropriately, and they didn't question anything. They just said, no, this is it, he's done, which was absolutely fantastic. However, I think there are still lessons to be learned for UKGE from this particular scenario. The woman in question had tried to get hold of someone and hadn't been successful. The nature of the material that had been sprung on is very distressing. I don't want to go into it too much. It was just very distressing, and I could see how some people would not necessarily be thinking in a very logical frame of mind being exposed to that. It could very well be triggering for them. And I think that perhaps there needs to, as it grows bigger and as UKGE gets bigger, there needs to be a more clear approach to who to go to raise this. Because if you go to a random volunteer on the info desk, there is no guarantee they're going to be able to do anything. And so I think with something of this nature, regarding something that's overly violent or sexual violence or something that is occurring within the game without consent that is distasteful and triggering, there needs to be a separate way of lodging complaints against the games master or the games in general. But I want to end by saying that after UKG did find out, I was heartened by how quickly they responded. That has not necessarily been the case in any kind of typical nerd conventions before. I've certainly been a part of conventions where something like this would not have been taken as seriously as UKGE did, and that is commendable from top to bottom for them, as far as I'm concerned. It makes me feel, as a woman, it makes me feel safer at their conventions, knowing that if something's going to happen to me, they will. If they find out about it, they're going to act in an appropriate fashion.
Yeah, no, I take a point upon the reporting process. I think they are looking at that. But 100% well done, UK Games Expo, for dealing with that matter efficiently and appropriately.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
we played some games.
So yeah, let's move on to some games that we played.
So yes, we actually played games at a gaming expo. Amazing.
So what did we play first? We went to the games library.
We did go to the games library. I went to the games library.
Got a passport and made your merry way inside and I picked
up Sheep Race by Genos Games, and the designer is Roberto Mancino. It's 2 to 6 players. You are attending sheep trials and you are betting on 3 sheep. Your opposing players know one of the sheep that you're betting on, but they don't know the other 2. So you can keep that secret, and it's about manipulating which sheep finishes, or if indeed any of them finish, because you can exhaust sheep so that they don't finish, and you do that by taking their breath away from them. So it's a fine line between getting them to go quicker, but also making sure they've got enough puff left to finish the game.
Yeah, no, obviously other people who don't want that sheep to win are trying to expend their energy as quickly as possible, so that they basically just can't plod on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was quite clever with the cubes and having the different colour cubes, and like if you spend 2 blues would make a sheep go yay fast, or 1 white would be the white was the wild card, wasn't it? And the reds tended to make things go a little bit quicker, but there were fewer of them on the sheep, and different sheep had different sort of activation points. So some might have 2 blue cubes, might move it 4. Another one might have 2 blue cubes, move it 6, but they get fewer cubes. And it's all about keeping your sheep in puff and plodding along and trying to expend everyone else's sheep as quickly as possible. Now, where we're setting this up, our good friends Nathan and Terry, who've been on the show, came along with their beautiful little boys, Henry and Arthur, and they joined in. So we made it a 6-player. And for me, Natalie... I'm not blaming Nathan and Terry, we were delighted to see them. But for me, 6 players was just too much. We ended up playing 1 race out of 3. You're supposed to have 2 semi-finals and then a final. And that one race really dragged because there were so many people playing it and so many people invested and doing things. We finished on that one race. Yeah. I don't think anyone was really interested in carrying on into a second and third. Had it been just myself, you and James, I think we may have gone into the second one, but I don't think there was enough interest there for us to go, yeah, we need this game in our life.
No, I think it was a perfectly acceptable one to try. I think that's what's the beauty about going to places like this with board game libraries, is you can pick up a game and try it and see, well, is it for us? I don't think this particular one was for us, but it was inoffensive, and I wouldn't chuck it at your head if you wanted me to play it again.
Okay, that's good to know, because you often do things.
I do. I'm brutal that way.
You are quite brutal. I always say, like, oh yeah, I love the different things that these games teach to James. And this one did teach him something different, but I'm not sure if I want him to know about gambling just yet.
Yeah, let's keep that until he reaches 10, right?
I'm manipulating that gamble as well. So, yeah, it was something new for James to think about for sure. And nice looking game, little plastic sheep traipsing along, and they're quite funny to look at, and trying to get your sheep to go ahead and it being funny when somebody nobbles you and your sheep collapses and falls over just short of the finish line. Very funny, but not quite enough there for us. But a good start to the expo. Now,
Shawnee, take it away.
I'm taking it away. So, as we've talked about in the first half, James
played you
like a fiddle.
Like a fiddle.
It
was a masterclass.
He told me about this great game he played, and he had to buy it, and it was the best game, Daddy, and you must play this game. And then when it came round to actually buying the game, you're like, oh, but Daddy, if I buy that,
I've only got £10
I only have £10 left. So Muggins, which he knew was going to happen.
Of course he knew it.
All right, well, I'll give you half. Oh, Daddy, you're so good to me.
And off we trade.
And off we go, we buy the game. It was Echidna Shuffle by Whatsalpogue Games, and designed by Chris Gould. Now, Echidna Shuffle. You looked up what an echidna is, didn't you?
It's a member of, I think it's a member of the Anteater family. And it is one of the only mammals that lay eggs.
There we go. Right. So now we know what an echidna is. Let's talk about Echidna Shuffle.
So, you don't get any live echidnas.
Essentially, in this game, we're bugs, and we're trying to get our bugs home, aren't we?
Yeah.
And the bugs travel on the backs of the echidnas, and the echidnas all travel in a certain direction. So there's a map on the board, and it's full of arrows. So if an echidna's on a certain space on the map, they can only go 1 or 2 separate ways. In the more advanced map, it might be 2 or 3, but certainly in the basic map, it's usually 1 direction they can go. You've just got to move echidnas out of the way so that you can move your echidna with your bug to one of your tree stumps, which has been placed by the other players. It sounds very basic, and it is. The rule set is incredibly basic, but there's a lot of screwage in this game for a kid's game.
For a kid's game, it is nasty.
It is. You can tuck. This is the kind of game I'd imagine at 1 o'clock at a lobster con, someone just bringing out, everyone half cut, absolutely roaring between laughter and fury at each other because you just completely stitch each other up.
You chucking a punch at Ronan.
Well, that's normal night. But you clear the path for yourself. So what you do is you roll a die, and this die goes from 2 to 7 rather than 1 to 6. And depending on what you get, the flip side, it will add up to 9, so you will always get 9 moves, but it's over 2 goes, but it's how that's split. So if you roll a 7, your next go is going to be a 2. If you roll a 5, your next go is going to be a 4, etc. You can work out the maths. So you can plan ahead of how you're going to get to things, but obviously there's going to be other players going in between that. So you may clear a path for yourself to get your echidna over to the trunk of your colour, so you can take it off, put the insect on it, and you've got one of your 3 to victory. But obviously other players are going to go, you know what, I can't really get to where I want to be, so let me just throw some echidnas or move your echidna around the other way so that you're the complete opposite way and you've got to go all around the board.
Yes, surely.
Natalie took offence at this the first time we played. As I explained to you, there's no other way you can play it. I'm not going to leave you there with the winning move. Like, let's not touch that because Mummy's about to win. No! Let's move that and make sure that Mummy's got 14 moves before she can get back to that tree stump.
And then you did it to your 6-year-old son.
Who won every game. Oh, no, I didn't know. I won the last game.
You won the last game.
I did stitch him up. It was not a proud moment.
No, that wasn't a proud moment for you. You really did stitch him up.
I did stitch him up. It wasn't a proud moment, but it was excellent parenting.
Was it life is going to stop you sometimes?
It was a life lesson. Sometimes those who you trust most are going to stitch you up.
It's the betrayal goodbye.
The most begrudging handshake he's ever given in his life. But I thoroughly enjoyed this game, Natalie.
Yeah, I like it. It's all right.
I love the dickery. I just love it. It's just so funny because you can see somebody working their brain and like, how am I going to, if I move that one off there, this one round here, then that clears my way for this one. I'll shuffle that one forward and I'll move that to the side and I'm going to have 4 moves the next turn. I'll be able to get to that tree stump. No, you won't. Not if I turn you round and send you off the other way, you won't. But there's also clever playing it, Natalie. There's times where you can set it up so people have to move your echidna.
Yes.
Isn't that good? Why am I getting a hairy eyeball again? Not good. So you can set yourself up.
I like it. I think it's fun. I think for a kids game, it's got a surprising amount of
nastiness.
No, not just that. I think there's a lot to think about, especially if you play the advanced board.
The advanced board is almost too advanced for me. You know me and route building. I get confused with the advanced board. I think the basic board is the way forward for James at the moment. And I think that's where we will stay. Ronan told me off for saying games illiterate to last time we did our recording. Apparently I said it 972 times, he counted. So
that boy needs to get out more.
Yeah, he can't, he's got bad back. So
Roll him out.
That was Echidna Shuffle. Natalie, we went along to our friends at Pegasus Spiel.
We did, and we sat down for a demo and we played Fabulantica, which is designed by Marco Tubner.
Yes.
Tubner. This is a lovely little children's game, I thought. I quite enjoyed
nominated for the Kinderspiel des Jahres.
And I can see why. So you've got castles, and in these castles there are various figures that we are all familiar with within fantasy fiction. So you've got your wizard and your dwarf and your troll and your knight and princess and your genie. And they're all hiding in these castles. And there are 3 cards which tells you what the first one is you need to find, and then what the second one is that you need to find. And you're travelling around by spending cards to travel along certain roads, or using your magic flying carpet if you've got that particular card.
Yeah, what was that like?
I don't know. Did you ever see the cards were purple with a carpet on them? You should have tried. You should have tried to use. No. Okay. James could tell you.
Yeah, because he had 19 of them.
And then it's a memory game, but then after you've found one of the things that you're looking for, you have to move it. So it is about kind of keeping an eye on where things are. I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was a nice little game. It played in a decent amount of time. We played a full game. James certainly seemed to enjoy it. It is at heart a simple memory game, but I think there's enough to it to get a few plays out of it.
And
Because you're
I think
moving the
because the
things
moving
around.
aspect is, it's not just like Wizardry to the Power of Three, which was also a Pegasus Spieler game, whereas everything was stayed in the same spot. And it was one of the criticisms that I know Ronan and his girls had about it. Well, it was obviously a kid's game and they were kind of judging it on that, older. But towards the end, everyone knew where everything was. And it was just a procession to finish the game. Whereas this one, you are constantly, every time you find something or look at something, you're moving it along to another space, and it's all shifting, and you've got to pay attention to where things are shifting to. Otherwise, it's, as it turned out for me, who was busy looking around the hall and not paying any attention, it just becomes a shot in the dark as to what.
Go there.
I'll go there. You've not found it. I'll go there. No, you've not found it. I don't know where this is, do I? No, Daddy, you don't. So, yeah, it was a nice game, and it was something, I think, just about hits where James is in his gaming life and his gaming journey. I think it just hits it nice. I think maybe once he gets to sort of 9, 10, probably a bit too old for it. So there's definitely a window you want to get in on this one.
But we have a second born that we're also hoping to brainwash. I mean, educate through games. It's all gravy.
Absolutely. And you also tell a story. You're supposed to tell a story why you're moving.
Which I like.
Why you're moving the castle. So if you find the king, then you move the king's castle and you say, well, the grumpy old troll came up and the king was so frightened he ran away and he's hiding in the mountains. He's hiding in the mountains. Yeah. And so you do a story for it. And the reason that there's pairs is that they're friends. Yeah. So like the king might have a jester on his card, and that's because it's his friend the jester and he wants to find him. Friend. So there you go. So
what was up next?
That was Fabulantica from Pegasus Spieler. Then we picked up a copy of Talisman Legendary Tales, again from Pegasus Spieler, designed by Michael Palm and Lukas Zak. And there was a bit, so backstory is, this is obviously a family version of Talisman. Backstory here is it had a bit of a backlash from people who were fans of Talisman who just thought it was a quicker playing or a slightly lighter version of Talisman. It is not that. It is a very much a family or children's game that just is part of the Talisman license, and very vaguely so. So what you do in this game is you've got a little bag of tokens. You set up a modular board on the thing. You read out a story, and you're rolling the dice to move to the different locations on the modular board, trying to find whatever you're trying to find. In the opening mission, you're trying to find flowers or herbs for a potion, and then the story changes and you've got to find fairies. But anyway, I don't want to give too much away. And you're looking for whatever you're looking for. You each have a bag, and that bag represents the powers of your character. And you are putting your hand in the bag and pulling out 3 discs. So if you encounter a monster that needs a sword and a wizard's hat to defeat it, you're putting your hand in, you're trying to defeat it. If you pull out 2 swords and or something else, then you won't defeat it. If you do pull out a sword and a wizard's hat, then you defeat that monster. You dip into a treasure bag, which gives you more discs that you add to your bag. But the thing is, you keep your discs out until such time you decide to put them all back. There's also time in there. Time, if you pull out a time marker, then that advances the time of the mission on, and if the time runs out, then you lose the game, effectively. Very simple story, just a few lines of dialogue, and then you're drawing out the bag, and I think it's a good introduction to adventure games, maybe even if you really stretch it, role-playing games, because if the child enjoys the story side and the exploration side, I think it's a very good introduction to that, and I think we enjoyed it. And we even did... I know I'm not letting you speak here.
No.
We even did have one of James' friends round who doesn't really play that many games, the odd sort of Monopoly, that kind of thing, not even. And she really liked it.
She did. She enjoyed it a lot, didn't she?
Yeah.
She had a good time. What I liked about it is actually, as demonstrated by James's friend coming round and playing it, it is one of those that is quite easy to pick up and play.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily need to know a lot about games to be playing it. I think it's a perfect entry-level family game.
Yeah, the adult can quarterback in a good way.
Yeah. You can, and it's good to sort of, again, we talk about this a lot because we do look at games through the eyes of our son and what does it teach our son. And I think in this particular one, it's about playing as a team because, you know, when you get your reward, you can choose to hand them over.
Mm-hmm.
It's about what's the best choice to further along without incurring too many penalties so we lose. And it's starting to think strategically and tactically about things.
It's fair. It's a very, very, very basic bag builder. Because if you pull out that time token or one of your time tokens that advances the time, then you want to leave that out of your bag as long as possible. But if you haven't pulled it out, it's whether you put everything back to minimise the chance of pulling it out. Because eventually, if you just empty your bag, it's going to come out. But if you can, at any stage before you start, you go put all your tokens back into the bag. So, and obviously you're building the bag by taking tokens, adding to mute, and it's looking around, and this is what we've got James doing, saying, right, okay, so the treasure I've picked up is a double sword. I've got lots of swords, Mummy and Daddy. Which of you two has the least swords? And I'll give you this, and then you'll be strong at swords. So two of us will be strong with swords. And it's that sort of side of things he's looking at. And yeah, I think we need to play through those missions fairly quickly because I think he will eventually tire of it and it'll pass him by. But again, Thomas coming through, perfect game when Thomas is about 3 or 4. And we can sort of quarterback him through a game like that. And he feels like he's playing. And, yeah, perfect family experience, I think.
I do like this because it's different from kind of the other games that we've played with James. And it is more of an adult game. And he is now getting to that age where he wants to be playing the adult games. You know, he kind of does want to play Stone Age and things like that. And so when you bring this out, which is different from all of his other children games, it's a kind of a step up for him. And he enjoys that aspect of it. Like, he feels like he knows himself is progressing. I like it. I'm happy to play it.
Yeah, I think
it's a nice little family game.
It was a good acquisition for us, definitely. So we seem to spend a lot of time on the Pegasus Spiel stand, Natalie.
We did,
and even when we weren't picking up things direct from the stand, we seemed to come home with some. So this is number 3 or 4 games from Pegasus Spiel.
This is Adventure Island, again by Michael Palm and Lucas Sack, and it is, I'm going to shorthand this and say it's a very light version of Robinson Crusoe.
100%, yeah.
That's exactly what it is, exactly pitched at it.
That's exactly what it does on the tin.
You have your cards, you have I think there's 5 scenarios in the base game. You are stranded on a desert island. You have objectives to get through for the various adventures. The first one being you've got to find shelter and build a fire. It's basically kind of a deck builder. You're turning over cards, you're reacting to the things on the cards, you're rolling dice, you're trying to gather wood, you're trying to build a shelter. We didn't do either of those things and we lost miserably.
Because we played it twice. And the first time, we didn't get the timing of the game correctly at all. We didn't realise the urgency, because in Robinson Crusoe, yeah, there is a bit of urgency, and you are up against time, but you do also feel like you've got a chance to go and explore, and going and exploring does sometimes yield you nice things, and you won't experience the game without exploring. In this one, I think you've got to focus right down to what you're going for. So if you need to start a fire, then you need to go and find wood. And you need to find wood quickly. We were messing around with Flotsam and Jetsam and faffing around, wandering off and gathering food and stuff like that. Yeah, food's great, but it's not going to win us the game. And this one, you have to go, right, okay, search, find a forest or a jungle and get that wood.
Because the time limiting factor on this game is those hazards cards.
Yeah.
And for a 2-player game, you've only got was it 8 or 10 hazard cards? I think it's
There's 8, so you get 5 goes.
So you get 5 goes. So
And
you've
then
got
done.
5 rounds.
Yeah.
You have 2 actions each in a round. So you've got 10 actions to get your stuff done. Yeah, I don't think we appreciated that.
No.
The second game we appreciated it, but we still failed miserably. So
We still failed.
but at least we know
got closer.
why.
We were very close to doing it, and I think the next time we would be a bit better.
Yeah.
And I think that's where this game sits for me. I want to play it a bit more. I'm not 100% sold by it yet, but I think it is a very, very quick, streamlined version of Robinson Crusoe, and which isn't a bad thing. I think
For me, it's a very good thing because I'm not wild about Robinson Crusoe.
I love Robinson Crusoe apart from the rule book. Every time I go back to it, I just can't learn it, so I just don't bother. So I think I ended up selling it because Ronan's got a copy and he's sort of au fait with the rules. So if I was going to go and play it, I'd ask Ronan to teach me anyway, so I might as well play his copy. So it didn't make any sense for me to keep hold of Robinson Crusoe, but as a game, I absolutely love it. I think it's a fantastic game, and this gives me a taste of Robinson Crusoe. So, and I'm interested to
I want
finally
to find
beat.
out more.
Yeah, try and get into the game a bit more, and maybe you do get more time to solve things
Yeah.
a bit later on. Maybe this first one is just like, boom,
Quick as possible.
Get
Because
there,
the decks
learn
are
the
all
game.
set up,
Yeah.
right? So in this particular deck, you've got those 8 hazard cards, and it's the hazard cards that are the time limiting factor, as I said. So maybe as we work through, you get more hazard cards, and it certainly looks that way from the separate packs that were in.
Yep.
That were sealed off. So yeah, I'm interested to play this some more.
So that was Adventure Island. Next one isn't a Pegasus Spiel game.
Did we find games that weren't Pegasus Spiel?
Well, apparently we did. We went over to Board and Dice and met up with the lovely Philippe there, and he was very keen to show us a couple of things, and one of those things was Dust in the Wings, designed by Dennis Kierps, Christian Crotchen, and Jean-Claude Pellin, and obviously from Board and Dice. It is a Mancala game where you have a grid, and that grid is full of different colour butterflies. And along the side, you have cards that depict a certain amount and colours of those butterflies. So you might have on one card a yellow and 2 blues. You might have on another card 3 red. You might have another card a yellow and a blue. And you're trying to take the butterflies from each of the squares on the grid of the board, and in Mancala style, you're dropping them one by one as you move around the board, and you're trying to get one of the grids to match the same colours of butterfly that are on the cards. And then you get to take the card, and there's molecules of dust, which are represented by little crystals, and you keep the crystal, and that's your point scoring. Also on the side of the board are different scoring. So one will say, if you manage to have 4 spaces in a row, all with the exact same number of butterflies in them, or if you manage to have a square 4 space with exactly 5 butterflies in it, etc. So it's another way of scoring and getting points into your hand. A tactical puzzle game blew my mind a little bit, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, Natalie, and I know you were sniffing at buying it. I could see it in your eyes.
I was very, very close to buying it, but I kind of put myself on a budget for that weekend, so I didn't. Which is not to say that I don't. I think it may very well make it into this house because I really enjoy those abstracty puzzle kind of games. It satisfies something in me, and I really liked the look of that.
Going into it, I was a bit. I'm not the biggest Mancala fan. Other games like Five Tribes and what have you haven't really done it for me. But this, I think, the simplicity of this one and the fact that it's just a beautiful game to look at. The artwork is stunning. And yeah, just trying to work out how you can get yourself to one of those reward cards and not set up somebody for one of the bigger points.
And I think it's going to be quite a quicker game as well. I don't think it's going to be like an hour and a half.
Yeah, it whisks through fairly quickly. But there is a slight timer with the cards. They don't just sit there forever. Every round, they get an extra dust molecule on them, and if they get up to 3 dust molecules, they're gone. They're out of there. So you've got to. So if you're building up to get to get a card, you've got to do it fairly quickly, otherwise it's just going to disappear on you or somebody else will nab it. But yeah, definitely another strong game for Board and Dice, who have always been a company that impressed myself and Ronan, taken over NSKN now, and so yeah, they've taken over NSKN.
They had something out that I think is coming out in Gen Con, which I like.
Yes, Sierra West.
Yeah, I like
right, so Ronan and Poria had a game of Sierra West in Essen. I want to say Essen. Yeah, it was Essen.
It'd be Essen, wouldn't it?
And they played the initial prototype. But what they have added now, and what the game's all about, is about modular games. And it's not modular in terms of you add this and it. They are different games in the package. So if you play with this module, it's a different game to Module 1. And if you play with Module 3, it's a different game to Module 2 and Module 1. So what Philip wanted to do was show us the different modules. And unfortunately, they only had one table with the game set up, and people,
I mean, we know I'm going to buy it anyway.
Ronan and Poria were very, very complimentary of it, and they said it's a really good game in the making. I know the guys from the Polyhedron Collider, they're big fans of it, and they're excited about it coming out. So I think it's going to be a massive hit for Board and Dice, and I think it'll probably end up in our collection.
I think there's like a fairly good 100% chance of that
So
happening.
hopefully we'll catch up with Philippe and we'll get to play some of those modules in Essen when I think it's been released in Gen Con.
Yeah, it is.
And they should have it out in Essen for us to have a little play test when we're there. So that was Dust in the Wings.
Another one that we brought home, which isn't Pegasus Spiele again, which, surprising, was Roll for Adventure.
Nice, yeah.
So you're rolling for adventure. You are taking the...
And this is by our good friend Matthew Dunstan, by the way, and Brett J. Gilbert.
Sorry. You see, I'm not a professional.
The only designer on here that we actually know is the one you forget to say.
Do we know them?
Yeah, we know Matt Dunstan, yes.
I don't.
I'm sure you've met him.
Maybe.
He sometimes carries Chris Marling.
Oh, fair place. Good man. Sorry, and it's published by Cosmos. See, I'm not a professional podcaster, which is why I neglected all of that information in the first instance. In any case, in Roll for Adventure, it is a dice rolling game. You are your standard paladin or warrior or wizard, and you are trying to protect the 4 lands of the world by dice manipulation and closing portals, opening portals, battling demons. We played the first game.
You're completing tasks.
Yeah, you're completing tasks
and you have to complete a certain amount of tasks to
get the little stones.
To get the stones over onto the quest card.
See, not a professional podcaster.
Yes.
In any case, we played the first base game of this, and we whipped through it fairly quickly. And we kind of sat there and there's not much to that. But then you whipped out.
Steady on. Watch where you go now. Watch where you go. Your next words, choose them very carefully.
The monsters.
Not great.
No, the advanced monsters.
Yeah, still not 100% great.
That hadn't been included in the first initial game because it was obviously the training game.
Which I knew because I read the rules and I completely forgot about. And I'm like, and I was there saying, you know what, there's not enough to this game. There's just not enough. I think this will be more for James's. I can't see us playing this much, to be honest, Tilly. And then it was, while we were putting it away, I was like, oh, hang on. I forgot. Have a look at the back of the board. So we turned over the back of the board. And yeah. Second time we played it, we didn't get on so well.
No. We didn't whip that through at all, did we?
We didn't destroy that without hardly losing anything at all.
I know, we lost our marbles and all sorts.
So
it was embarrassing.
Definitely more to the game than we
initially thought.
But I knew this.
Why did you not?
I having a brain fart. I don't know what happened. Something went blank. I must have banged my head in between.
Bless your heart.
And there is a lot more to it. But on the plus side, the base game, like the very basic game, is definitely something James could play.
Yeah.
So we've got two games
for the price of one.
And this was one of my want to get in Essen, but it was only out in German in Essen. And
It is
I remember
language dependent.
catching up with Matthew over there, and he said it is coming out in English. You just got to wait until next year. And lo and behold, true to his word, God bless him, it did come out in English, and I grabbed the first copy I spied.
And well done, that man.
Well done, that man, because there was hardly any copies by the end, was there?
No,
I couldn't see many at all.
No, and I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it.
I would definitely. I like a dice chucker. I like
which is surprising
manipulating
considering
dice.
how bad you are at dice.
Yeah. But what I do like about it is how you have to sort of commit dice and choose which dice you commit to various things, and you've got to be very careful that you don't
Run out of
overcommit and run out of dice yourself.
Yeah.
Especially in the 2-player game, because you get to use the neutral colour as well, don't you? So everyone's got a sort of their colour and a neutral colour, and you've got to be very careful that you don't waste those.
Yeah, and also because, say, I'm playing green and blue is my neutral colour, and then Sean finishes the task off, which has got, say, 1 of my green and 2 blue in, he will then get the 2 blue and I will only get the green back. So there needs to also be a communication between the players. Well, okay, you need to finish that task because you're now down to 4 dice. So I liked that aspect.
Ooh.
I thought that lent something interesting to a 2-player variation.
That's where the co-op really came in for us, was working out, if I finish this, you're going to be left with no dice next round. So I'm going to leave it, or I'm going to try to leave it, because you have to assign dice if you roll them, and that's the only one you've got left. And there's only 1 space on the board that you have to assign it. So, yeah, interesting. And each area takes different sort of sequences of dice and different ways to unlock it. But yeah, I liked it. That was Roll for Adventure.
Up next,
we're back to Picture Spiel. And this is Castle Rampage from Matthias Kramer, the famous Matthias Kramer. And Castle Rampage is a very simple 2-player card game where you are defending your castle and your gate against attackers, and each player will have cards that will attack each other's castle and do various things. Sometimes on the cards they change it up a little bit, and you're able to plant cards in people's defences, and their defences are stacks of cards. So you have 2 choices when you go. You can place a card onto one of the stacks. There's always a gate defence and a castle defence on each card, and there's also attack values and different text that changes those attack values on each card. So you're looking to place the higher defence values for your gate on your gate pile, which is below your sort of player aid card, and you're looking to place the ones with the higher value for your castle above, which your player aid card. That's where your castle defence is. And the first player to get rid of both castle and gate from the other player wins the game. It was very, very light. Yeah, it wasn't much to learn about the game. I found, although I had a little bit of fun playing it because it was silly, I felt that it was completely random, depending completely on the cards you drew and completely on the chains that you were able to put together. And sometimes someone just wouldn't be able to defend, and the game could be over in 5 minutes, or it could last, if you just got the wrong set of cards, it could last half an hour, which is way too long for it.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. It's not something that I would to play again.
Yeah, if you can guarantee it just always would finish in 5 minutes, then you wouldn't mind just, while another game was setting up, having a quick 2-player game with this and saying, okay, we're going to join that game when they finish in 5 minutes. Let's have a quick game of Castle Rampage. But you wouldn't put any stock in the result of it. You wouldn't put any stock on what happens, because it's just completely random card drafting. Well, not even card drafting, card drawing off the top deck. So, top decking, as they say. So, yeah, not my favourite of the games we played for sure.
Agreed.
And I think we should move on to another awful game, Natalie.
You take that back.
I will take that back. It's not an awful game.
This is Cat Cafe, and this is... I'm just going to be upfront with you, because I'm no good. I'm no good at hiding my feelings. Cat Cafe by Alley Cat Games, designed by Li Juhua, is just a fantastic game. I'm sorry. It's a roll and write. And you have a pad, and you have a pencil, and you have some dice, and you roll your dice, and you're selecting things to put into your cat cafe. And you're chaining mice together to score the points, or you're getting food bowls to score points around the food bowls, or cushions. You score points on how far up the tree they are. I mean, it's just a fantastic little filler game. And of course, you do have the moral victory if you name your cat cafe. If you are boring and refuse to name your cat cafe, you will never win a game.
So I didn't even think that was your biggest gripe. It's the fact that I don't draw the symbols.
I'm just ignoring it. He doesn't draw the symbols, people. You're supposed to draw the symbols.
No, you're not.
No,
you have a choice.
no. I don't care. I don't care. He was being sweet to you. Li Juhua was being sweet to you, and he shouldn't have been. He should have said, no, you draw the symbols.
But if I draw
I'm not finished.
It'll be a mess.
I don't care. You can draw your birdhouse, you can draw your ball of yarn, you can draw your butterfly, you can draw your food bowl, you can draw your cushion, or you can draw your mouse. It's not that difficult.
I don't want to. I want to be able to see what I score at the end of the game.
Therefore, he loses morally every single time. And he doesn't even name his cat cafe.
I have won more times than I've lost in this game because I don't mess around.
I don't mess around. Fantastic game. I love it so much.
So I've said on our Twitter feed that this has been my surprise game at the Expo. I have not changed my mind. Ronan, I don't know if Ronan has actually played it yet. I've left our copy in London for him. And yeah, I don't know if he's going to like it or not. I don't care. If he doesn't like it, he's wrong. If he likes it, welcome to the fold. It is a roll and write, which I'm not particularly enamoured with, roll and write, so I've never really seen the point until now. But this one is a very clever one. And it's very clever because of, A, the dice drafting. So you roll one more dice than there are players, and each person in player order will choose one of those dice. And then the one in between is a communal one. So you've got your columns, and you're going to use 4. So a 4 might be...
Food bowl.
4 is the food bowl,
you should know
and
that.
A 6 is the mouse. So you can either place a food bowl in the level 6 spot, or the mouse in the level 4 spot. And you can also pass and take the cat spores, which are basically... a way to manipulate your dice. They're +1 or -1 to each dice for every cat ball you use. So, yeah, but the one you leave in the middle is always crucial because you don't want to leave the one in the middle. So if I've taken a cushion, the cushion needs to go as high up by those columns as possible. If I've taken a cushion and I'm the first player, you don't want to leave that 6 because I will place my cushion on that 6 spot and I will score 6 points for that cushion. You want to leave me with a 1 if you can, and then that makes me place a house, which is boring because houses score other things, but you also have to have a house on the column to be able to score the column itself when you fill the column. I'm getting too much into the rules.
You are.
But that's the cleverness of the dice. And then obviously you are looking at what path you want to go down. There are lots of paths to follow. Whether you want to chain loads of mice together to get loads of points that way, you can get up to 20 points for each chain of mice. Whether you want to get your cushions as high up there as possible. Whether you want to finish the columns quicker than everybody else.
Or whether you want to give your beloved other half a 4 and 4 to choose from.
We do like the 4 and 4. Have a food bowl in a 4. Or you can have a food bowl in a 4.
Food bowls don't score particularly.
Yeah, we found that food bowls aren't great. I suppose if you had loads of them all chaining
or
off each other.
Or a 1 and a 4 was always...
1 and a 4 was funny, but especially right at the beginning when you don't want to place the house.
You don't want to place a house.
You don't want to place the house at the beginning because you score for the multiples of everything else you've placed. So if I've placed 4 cushions, I score 8 points. If I place a house and I choose cushion as the scoring, but if I've just got 1 of everything or nothing of everything, it's pointless.
Quite literally.
Quite literally. No, they score for themselves, they can do.
I know.
Yeah, so it'd be 2 points minimum.
In any case, I really enjoy the game.
Yes,
I wondered why we hadn't played it again, and it's because you've learnt it to run.
I have, but I
shall get it back.
I will get it back. I will snatch it from his dirty little claws and bring it back to you. But yes, a very, very good game. I played with Matthew again, who came round to play some of the UKGE games with us.
And as per usual, he absolutely
I won Cat Cafe.
Did you win Cat Cafe?
I won Cat Cafe against Matthew. Yes, I was the
because normally he wallops us.
He does normally wallop us. Well, you beat him in Bosque.
I loved a bit of Bosque because I did beat him.
So he hasn't done that well. He beat us in Wingspan. And we've all decided that was just pure luck. Well, Matthew didn't, but we did.
Especially because I was a point below.
But yes, he liked it as well. And that brings us to the end of the games that we played at the UK Games Expo.
And your listeners heave a sigh of relief like, oh my God, it's over.
Yeah, sorry about Cat Cafe. When I get excited about a game, I tend to start listing off all the things, and I do it very quickly, and it doesn't particularly make any sense. So apologies for that, but I did like it. It's good.
See, I think your listeners are going to pick it up now thinking it's a 4X or something.
Yeah, it's not Twilight Struggle, people. I may have sounded like Twilight Struggle when I start talking about it, but it's not. So yeah, Natalie, thank you very much.
Thank you once again for inviting me into the pit.
Yes. And I didn't bother cleaning it for you this time. I hope it wasn't too fetid.
That's fine. I have no sense of smell. We're all good.
Well, we talked about this. That's why we're married. And yeah, thank you to everybody for listening. Ronan, hope the back's getting better soon. Hopefully Ronan will be back with myself. We'll both be back. We'll both be fit at the same time to record, so that'll be a novelty of recent months. And yeah, thank you all for listening. And as always, we are proud members of the Dice Tower Network. Go there and to the Dice Tower itself for gaming goodness galore. If you wish to download our episodes, we're on Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, and Stitcher. And we are also on social media. We have an Instagram account, we have a Facebook page, and we're on Twitter at GamePit Podcast. Best ways to get hold of us is by email at thegamepitpodcast@gmail.com, or even better, go to Board Game Geek and find our guild there and just fire a question across. And as I mentioned at the top, we do have our YouTube channel. Go there for pit stops, which are brief introductions to games to see if you like them, and of course convention coverage. And we'll catch you next time. Go!